So, welcome back to photography, and if we didn't have enough fun down by the water last week, which was a lot of fun, tonight we get to play, well, Tim, what are we going to do tonight?
Well, we've got some different lights again today. We've got some little flashlights here, got some colour and some LED and these little battery-powered lights. We're going to do a couple of things with these. We're going to use these as the light source to illuminate the subject.
That doesn't seem like a lot of light to illuminate a subject.
Well, no, that's actually quite bright pointing at the camera. But we're going to do this in a situation where there's no room light, no other studio lights on, and so the only light illuminating the subject is going to be the torch, and as you might expect, as we move the torch during the exposure time, it's going to leave a trace. So it's what we do with those traces and what's illuminated with the trace that'll be the fun things we do tonight.
Brilliant. All right. Well, let's. Can I have a go drawing with light?
That'd be a great start.
And then we can work away from there, because I think we can get pretty funky with this by the time we're done.
Well, we can. Terrific. So if you're pointing a light at the camera, and if you write as you would be writing, if you write as you would on a page.
So hello,
the camera, of course, is going to see that backwards.
Yep.
But we'll flip the shot after this, and then we'll be able to read the writing correctly. Okay. So you're dressed in black. Turn all the other lights out, turn the torch on, let's have a play. So
let's find out what you're going to be shooting on. So you've done, some preliminary lighting in here. So you got some idea where we're at?
Yes, we did a little bit of testing with this, and we'll turn our studio lights off in a minute and just make these exposures with the torch or flashlight. But we've still got the Fuji camera here and a 24 to 120 lens. An aperture with this quite bright LED, I managed to stop down to f22.
Oh, that's good.
It leaves a trace when it's not pointing at camera, but when it points right at camera, it's a very bright burst.
Oh, so we get like a kind of thick, thin thing?
We'll have the line will be very... And this one actually has 3 little lenses in it. And if we look closely at this writing that you're going to do, we should see a trail of 3. It's like when you were at school and you got 3 pencils together around a rubber band, you drew something on the page like that. Well, that's what we're going to do with light. Okay, and now how long do you think we're going to be open on the exposure? How long can we go on this? How fast can you write? I think, well, we'll start at about 10 seconds, maybe 10, 15 seconds, something like that. Give you time enough to write something. We don't want any other light on to record any ambient light, so we're just going to use the flashlight.
So we're not going to be able to roll on this, or at least we can, but you're going to get 10 seconds of black screen, right? So
no, it's going to look a little bit funny on the video, so we might show you painting with light now, if you like.
Well, I'll do a rehearsal,
and
then we'll show you what happens when we turn the lights out, I guess is the way to go.
Sounds great. Let's do that.
Okay. So I'm going to need, if you go back and have a look through, I'm going to need edge of frame, right? Because I'll need to know how big my light canvas is.
Yes. So I'm going to frame up horizontally here, and...
So you're doing a sort of 4 by 3?
Yes, that's right. In a horizontal frame or landscape-shaped frame.
Am I good here?
And you're good right in the middle of the paper, and I think I would go from about down where you are now.
That's
and
low.
How high do you think you want to go above your head? You're going to write with
this
capitals?
shoulder's a bit dicky, so probably not much higher than
we'll only go up to about there.
So probably stay here in the middle.
Framed that up very nicely, and you've got a little bit more width than that if you need it to write a novel.
So it could be... So now, if I wanted to do hello, it would be H-E-L-O. Would that be all right?
Yes.
Now, the other thing, of course, is that's going to be continuous, like running writing. If I want to... Just put this down for a second. If I want to stop the light, I need to cover it, move to the next letter, and then go again, right?
That would work. You can write in block capitals, or you can do proper joined up running writing.
Okay, sure.
No, if you just block the light or turn it off and on.
I think I'll try blocking it and see how that works.
Yeah, that'd be quite a quick way to do it.
Okay. I actually did one of these with a sparkler on a multi-camera rig, but let's see if I can get this happening.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to be covered, and you're going to turn out a rehearsal. So you're going to give me a countdown or something?
Yes, we're going to do a 10-second exposure to start, and I'll count down to the start of the exposure, and then I'll count through the 10 seconds.
Okay.
So it's 3, 2, 1, open.
So I have about 2 seconds.
2, 3, 4,
need to have a 5,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay, so that would
then
work.
The shutter's
if I could
closed.
spell hello, that would be good.
Okay.
Okay.
let's do that with the
Lights off.
Lights off and see how it looks. And we'll keep it a little bit tighter so I don't run out of my white.
Okay.
Okay, we ready with that? 3, 2, 1, open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Close.
Okay, I'm going to count this out. Actually, no, you count it out, Tim. So that was my Christmas tree. What do you think of my Christmas tree?
It was fabulous. It just looked terrific.
Hey, Tim, Christmas trees deserve lights. And I've got this one. Now, these aren't special, right? These are just cheap things from the hardware store.
That's right.
But this one, I don't know if you can see that, has LEDs, 3 different colours. So I'm going to try and put lights on my Christmas tree. Think I can do that?
That sounds very festive.
And after that, I'm going to draw you a picture for Christmas, but I don't know if it'll come off. See if you can work out what it is when I'm finished.
Okay, well, let's do the next one.
Okay, so this is going to be longer exposure, maybe. You got any more time for me? You can get it longer?
Yes, I can open up 30 seconds or...
30 seconds will do well. I'll do about 15 with this, if you can count it out, and then I'll go 15 seconds putting my lights on the Christmas tree.
Okay.
Okay, this one is for you, Tim. This is not a tree. See if you can work out what this one is. You can recognise this Christmassy chap.
Oh, wow. That was fantastic.
Did you like my Santa Claus?
It's gorgeous.
Do you think that'll work out all right?
Yeah.
So look, these aren't anything special, right? These are just...
No, just from the local hardware store?
So what I'm going to do is grab the light off the camera next, which is a bank of LEDs which we use for interviews, and see if I can get some swirling. And then, then I'm going to introduce you to a guest, but let's do this one first.
Well, look forward to that.
It was actually quite hard to manipulate this large bank of LEDs. I actually prefer the torch. So, Tim, I've got a friend I brought along, Steve. Steve, say hi to Tim. Tim, this is Steve.
Hi, Steve. Nice to meet you.
So now, Tim, Steve's actually going to do next term's photography course, which is going to be on special effects photography. But hopefully you're going to return for the April course.
Well, that sounds great. Special effects, wow.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole lot of stuff to do with photography for special effects, like textures.
That's right, HDR, normal maps, things that we sort of do in a more analytical rather than creative.
Rather than creative. And then we're going to come back, hopefully, if we can join you again in April term, because we love your stuff.
Do we ever?
Thanks, mate. Well, looking forward to that.
Now, I've got Steve along because we're going to try some tricks with Steve if we can. We had this theory we worked out before. Step in shot for a second. So, Tim, I don't know how this looks for you through the camera, but what we're going to try and do is actually edge trace Steve. And I'm in black and Steve obviously isn't. So my hope is that if you can give us 10, 15 seconds on the shutter, I can draw around Steve behind him with a light while he remains motionless. Do you think that's going to work?
Yeah, I think it will. He needs to stay quite still.
Yep.
And then you can trace around. As you do trace around, just allow some of that light to spill onto him as well.
Okay, sure. So you're not going to move. And then I've got to get out of shot. Well, I should be if I'm all right in black, right? If I just don't, as long as I keep moving.
We'll play with some alternatives like that and maybe add a little bit of a twist later on.
Cool. Okay, let's do it. Okay, Steve, so this shot, yeah?
Yep.
I'm going to stand behind you and try and do a trace. We hit the 10-second mark, because we go for 15 seconds on the exposure. I'll go, and I'll leave my light switched off, hopefully, here. You then line up for the leaning shot on yourself.
Point. Over to right here.
And then before 15 seconds, I'll exit frame. And that should get us you leaning on yourself. If I can move, if we can do the last bit in
lean over in just
5 seconds.
Just the right time before I fall.
So
let's practice.
Practice?
So that should be a little left of frame.
You're left of frame, so you can lean against yourself. So Tim, does that look about right for giving space for Steve to be himself?
Yes, enough for Steve with the illumination and then for the real
Steve, okay.
Steve beside.
So we just do a rehearsal. Tim, can you count out the 15 for us when I get set up? Okay. And
2, 1, open.
And then that will go round.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Go, Steve.
12, 13, 14, 15.
Crap.
Excellent.
I
Okay.
couldn't hold my balance. Cool.
So try one of those with the lights off. Bump into each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 2, 1, open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Okay, I'm blind. I'm staring right at that light. Well, now Steve's come up with a good idea, which was that when I hand the torch off to him, he's going to try and bring the torch around and shine it at what is his own face, which means that when I'm doing the trace around, I'm going to have to find his face and illuminate it. So it's going to look like Steve is here, then Steve is here shining on himself.
On himself, that's it.
So does that bother you, or is that going to work all right for you?
I think it's a terrific idea.
Okay.
And I'm sure we're going to make it work.
Okay, let's have a go.
Okay.
Okay, so how many, so we've got about 15 seconds to pull this off. Do you reckon we can, so you do 10 for the trace and 5 for the handoff?
I think, yes, about 10 or 11 to trace and then hand off pretty quickly and that'll finish it.
So if you count it out, so let's just do a mock-up, see if we can pull it off.
That's pretty damn...
Tim, if you can do the count.
And ready, and shutters open, and 1, 2, 3.
Now I need to light up his face, right?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Uh-oh.
11,
And then go.
13,
Whoops.
Look at me.
14,
Don't fall over.
15, and shutters closed.
Okay, let's see if we can pull that off.
Oh,
dear.
that was close.
Whose idea was this? Okay. 2, 3, 4. Handing off to you, Steve.
Well, that one looked terrific. I think you could allow a little bit longer on the trace.
Around the trace, yeah?
Yeah, and Steve, when you come to bring the light around, keep it pointing at the camera, and even when you get to the end near your shoulder, it can still even be pointing a little bit at the camera then, and that'll continue the exposure.
Okay,
This
to,
way
to
or-
join the line of the light to
That's
the
right.
object.
Right, because that means we're going to get a sweep all the way around him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that.
Okay.
In the dark. Okay, try that again, and we'll go again. Okay, Tim, I want to try something. I want to see if I can do a three-dimensional space, because I want people, the postgrads, to try this. I'm going to try and define, well, a camera. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But I want to be in perspective to you, but pointing the light back here. Oh, my, this is going to be impossible. I'm going to try and draw a perspective camera with a lens, presumably, and do all that in, what, 20 seconds?
Well, we could, yes, 20 seconds. And when you do that, if you're drawing the shape, try and keep in mind where you started in space if you can. So if you're drawing a shape to finish it off, you come back to the same spot.
Right, in perspective, with the torch angled at the lens. Okay, everybody, I'm doing this in the dark. You guys need to do this. Just post these in the forums. I want you to do cameras like this in the dark. Well, that one looks all right. I mean, you can tell that it's a camera, vaguely.
Fantastic.
Okay. Well, now what are we going to try next, Tim?
Well, I thought we'd do some other light moving ideas, but this time I've got a little bit of a trick which I want to show you in a minute.
So the idea is we're actually now going to use natural motion to get us a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Is that the plan?
I'm going to photograph the lights on the torch shining down onto a sheet of plexiglass mirror I have. The torch is suspended by a string from a pole, and I'm going to photograph the reflected light of the torch. Just take that stand away from me a little bit, Mike, because you do that. Okay. That'll be a good spot to start.
And then the longer we can stay open, I guess, the more of our complex pattern we can get, right?
Yes. Just hold that still for me, if you would, for a moment. I'm going to try and get the point source of the light, the actual torch light, in focus, which isn't the focus of the mirror. It's actually a focus of a point off the mirror and back up to
Right, I've done a special
torch is.
effects shot like that. We wanted to have a reflection in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
We needed to shoot the person twice as far away.
Yeah.
So when we comped the reflection into the mirror, they felt like they were the right distance.
The balance, yeah.
Because it's
Okay.
double, isn't it?
That's right.
Okay. And then I guess the question is, will the roof be too lit up or not?
Well, we're going to turn all the room lights off again and swing the torch around, and let's have a look and see what sort of result we get.
Okay.
Okay, a little bit more. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's let it swing. I think we might have to start with it further away from us, but
further away?
Let's go for... no, I'll leave it there for the moment. But let's go for a 30-second exposure.
Okay, Tim, so the idea is we've got too much sky or roof reflection.
That's right. I've got a white ceiling in the studio and it's just reflecting in the mirror for me. So the idea is I'm just going to put a light upside down. Any black card or black sheet over the top would do the job.
We just happen to have these incredibly big black lights.
That's right. And this is going to do a little bit of... add a bit of darkness for it so it doesn't... we don't reflect the white ceiling in our mirror, and that should solve the problem.
Okay, so if we flip this over and face the roof, is that your thinking?
Yep, that's right. So it's going to go that way.
Okay. This looks really heavy, but of course it's just an empty tent, isn't it, effectively?
That's right. It's a soft box. Oh,
okay.
Okay. I'll put this down underneath it so I don't have to hold it.
Oh. Okay. Fun, huh? So, anything to get the shot. So again, this is something that the guys can do at home, right? I mean, theoretically.
Yes, on a simpler scale, perhaps just with a black card over the top, or in a completely dark room where there's no other light, and only the torchlight exposing for us.
All right. Well, should we kill the work lights?
Kill the work lights, and then we'll do a string exposure.
Okay, let's do this with the string. Kind of weird with the lights off, isn't it? So, Tim, that looked pretty cool. That was, what, 30 seconds?
Yeah, that was 30 seconds, and it gives a good trace, and the pattern's looking fantastic.
Can we do more?
Yeah, we can do more. I'll give this a 1 minute's exposure, and we'll let the pattern settle almost, maybe even 2 minutes. We'll let the pattern settle down to the light being almost still.
Now, it won't make any difference to the intensity of the lines, right? Because they're always going to be at that point in the frame for the same duration.
That's right.
It just when you get more lines.
Yes.
Cool.
All right, let's give that a go.
It's nice with the red too, isn't it?
Fantastic. The other thing I think we'll do is we'll go more sideways, as that's the orientation of the camera.
Okay.
Rather than...
sort of like that more?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, yep. Okay. Mike, for a bulb or time exposure, I'm going to use a cable release. This way I can lock the shutter open and then leave it open. This is a manual one. Other cameras have electronic ones. Now, essentially, I don't want to have to stand here with my finger on the shutter for 2 minutes, so I'm going to open the shutter with a cable release, and then I can leave the camera without vibration for the duration of the exposure.
Okay. So I'll do a horizontal one, and we just got to kill the house lights and see what we get. Okay, and let's try that again, just varying it a little, if we can. Okay, so that worked well.
Yep.
Steve just had a terrific idea. Is that on this it has an extra button, and this button makes it randomly change, well, not it's randomly, it just works its way around between the three colours, but automatically. So now we could have it actually moving and changing colours. But what's kind of interesting is they're offset, so I don't know how that's going to work or not. But
yeah, each of the coloured lights changes position, so you might expect that the trace in the mirror will jump a little bit as it changes colour. This could be a very interesting pattern. Let's have a look.
Let's see that. On a long or short exposure?
Well, we'll give this about a minute,
and
see how. Again, the time depends. Will determine how many lines there are in the picture.
Okay. Well, that was good, but I'm kind of a bit confused that these seem to jump instantly, but there seems to be breaks in the lines. So I don't know what that's called. But can we try a short one just to see what's
Yeah, if we give a shorter exposure time, we should be able to see exactly the trace, what each of the lights is doing.
Okay, let's do a short one then. Okay, so the only thing is, on the really long exposures, we're starting to see some imperfections in the glass.
Yes, this plexiglass or perspex mirror has been used a bit in the studio. It's a bit scratched, and the lights are causing a little bit of flare, disturbance in that. I haven't got an absolutely clean bit of mirror, like perhaps a wardrobe door that someone might have at home. So the alternative is that I'll just put the camera on the floor and point up at the light.
Oh, just like straight into the lens.
Effectively the view that we're getting here, but it's a bit more convenient to see the reflected light in the mirror.
Okay.
But if I put the camera down where the mirror is and we're pointing straight up at the light, let's have a look at that one.
That should be the same intensity, right? Shouldn't theoretically?
The light should be pretty much the same. There's not much loss through the reflection in the mirror.
Okay. Let's have a look at that.
It's going to be wide enough, I hope. And it's going to be in focus, I hope.
So what's your little trick?
Well, my trick is to make the focus.
Oh, I see, because
the
you
light
can't
is sharp,
see when you're lying on the ground.
Because when I'm on the ground, I won't be able to see it. I'm going to put the camera there like that, pointing straight up.
Okay, so it needs to go camera left a little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And then... Oh, check this out, Tim. That one with the 3 LEDs.
Yeah, that was that oscillating light again. And really interesting effect, the way it's pulsed from red to green to blue.
You know what it is? We've shortened the length of the string when we put the camera under it. Mm-hmm. So that's meant the oscillations have got closer to the natural frequency of the lights changing. Whereas before they were kind of more out of sync.
Yes, I think that's right. And the space in the lines between each turn that the light does is wider in this case, because I think that we've gone to a wider angle lens and the light source is actually closer to the camera, so the light's carving a bigger arc.
No, you know what I think it is? I think that they're almost at exactly the same point in time, one off, one on, but they're physically separated. So we're jumping from green low to blue, see here, where it goes green, blue. So it's like the green's going here, then it jumps up to blue because of the jump across the front of the lens of the 3 lights.
Yeah, the 3 lights aren't exactly in the same spot.
So it looks like they're not joined, but, you know, the arcs are like actually would be joined if you were to be able to play them, I think, but I mean, I'm just guessing.
Well, it's a fantastic result. The colour is brilliant.
Now, that was in a very expensive rig. How much did that cost us?
Well, that light cost $8.
$8. Well, there you go. Okay. Well, now look, I want to play with some frickin' lasers.
Terrific. That's going to be exciting.
And we have a smoke machine. Frankie goes to Hollywood all over again. Oh, and Steve, terrific. You have a couple of lasers up your sleeve, I believe, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I happen to have a few in the boot of the car when I turned up here today, but not everything I'd like to play with, unfortunately.
So why don't you drive this?
Okay. Well, Tim, just bouncing off what you're doing with the spirograph patterns and the lysergic patterns you're getting from the period of that string, it started making me think about what we do sometimes for scanning purposes. We drive lasers across a subject to read depth in a scene, but in this sort of light it could be quite interesting to see what we get when we swing a laser over a subject.
So who do you think we should point it at?
Lasers pointing at Mike, I think.
Okay.
He's in black, it'll look good against the black background. So if we stand you, Mike, not too far away from the background, I think we'll get a good read of you stepping off it. If you're too far away from the background, as the laser traverses across your body and then drops back to the background, we won't actually see the correlation. So if you're really close and the angular difference is not too great from camera to camera and laser crossing you, then we'll still get the line on the background, and I think we'll get just a nice little relief, a bit like an 80s logo or something. See what happens. So your choice, Mike, red or green? What would you rather not see anymore? That's right. Let's take some precautions. So we have a couple of lasers here. We've got a 240 milliwatt red one, but that's 6 millimeters across, so that could create some permanent damage, but it'll take some time because it covers a fair bit of area. Or we have a little tight green one that's 120 millimeters that'll burn through plastic and probably your retina a little faster.
I'll close my eyes.
Jolly good. Let's play with green because, as you guys probably know, green is the dominant spectrum in the sensitivity of our eyes, so it appears a lot brighter, and that's why green laser pointers appear a lot brighter than red ones at the same milliwatt rating. And it's also on CCDs for digital cameras, like the one you're looking through right now, more dominant in its coverage of the CCD surface area because of how sensitive our eyes are to it, it's more important to sample green. So most CCDs have twice as many green sensors or light wells as red or blue. So it does show up better on video. And also the digital camera that we're using as well. So if I just step back here, and Tim, what do you think, how do you want to frame this?
Well, we'll do a rehearsal here with the room lights on, and if you scan the laser across Mike's body, I'll do that, let's say 10-second exposure time.
Sure.
I haven't done this before. Let's try that as a test, see what it looks like, and then we'll do it with the lights off.
Okay, so I'll call Mike, close your eyes, Mike, open your eyes, so that you know when to and when not to look. But I'll leave the shutter and the call of action to you, Tim, yes?
Okay.
Okay.
Eyes closed.
Mm-hmm. Eyes closed, good.
And so 3, 2, 1, shutter open.
Dan.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right.
Okay, that was an interesting result. Some things we didn't expect to see.
Yeah, it looks really, I think, really interesting. Potential is fantastic. So those horizontal lines show a very interesting picture. I think we should try one perhaps with a different body pose and perhaps introducing more depth into it.
It's nice.
Having Mike
raise an arm or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, let's have a look.
17, 18, 19, 20, 21.
Eyes closed, open. Eyes open. All right. Well, that's interesting.
This is it's fantastic. Yeah. I think we should try now to change the angle of the laser. So we've been bringing it in about on the axis of the camera, but I think we should take it up high and then have the light coming down. This should change the dimension of the shadow behind, and I think that should show us some.
All right, so you'll frame the bottom of the cyc here, and we'll get the curvature of the shadow.
The curvature there, and we'll position Mike a little bit off-centre so that we can include him as a subject and the shadow as well.
Okay, and take the laser up. Sort of
and we'll bring it down from
like this.
Up in the mezzanine.
Jolly good. Let's give that a try.
Okay.
So that's working pretty well, guys. I'm thinking, though, that I'm black, right? So when the lasers are hitting me, it's not reflecting very much, except from my skin. But, Steve, you're lit up the most of us, right? Why don't we try you on the stage, and I'll run the friggin' lasers over you and see if we get more... You know what I mean, Tim? Because it's like hiding in my black.
Yeah, I think it disappears. It's absorbed by the black more, so we'll get more light reflection off the lighter coloured clothing.
Okay, let's try that. Green laser. Okay, so this is kind of working well, and there's a bunch of interesting stuff we've done there. But I'm wondering, we're kind of scanning. I'm thinking that painting with the torches at the beginning was interesting, Tim.
Yeah, now that technique had a much finer line with the torch rather than a wider spread that we're doing with the lasers currently. So let's try and do a more particular painting with the light, with the laser. Let's try that still from up on high.
Yeah, the high is good because it gives us dimension, doesn't it?
Got the dimension, got the depth, the shadow's happening very nicely. We're containing the laser within the shot. So I think maybe just concentrate on small areas and outlines.
Except for I want you on the stage this time.
Me? Okay.
Okay, so that first one worked pretty well, except for we didn't have a long enough exposure, so obviously we were operating the camera and buggered it up. I only got one side of you. I'm going to try that again with a longer exposure, if that's right. So what were we on before, like 10 or 15? Can we get
yeah, that was 15 seconds. I think we need more time to draw the lines kind of around, so 30 seconds I think should do it.
Let's try that.
Okay, I'll get ready.
That was brilliant. Brilliant.
Well, it's a terrific result. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, you could enter that in the Archibald next year.
I think that'll be terrific.
Yeah, he did the painting. So.
Steve, thanks very much.
That
was really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing your classes next year. I think it'll be really exciting.
Great. I've enjoyed seeing yours too. So.
Terrific.
Great.
Now, we were discussing this before, but the thing about lasers is you really don't see them, do you?
No. Like with any light, you don't actually see light passing through the air. you always see it when it hits something, or you see the something it hits. But the common thing that you might see in nightclubs and stage shows, of course, is when they use spotlights, they always have a bit of smoke in the air. And that smoke interrupts the path of the light, and you see the light hitting the smoke. So that's what could be a good idea to use with the lasers here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is that it's all then a choreography of smoke density, the amount that it's kind of wafting through, and you're really almost choreographing the smoke to see the light as opposed to choreographing the light, because the light's pretty much a fix at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So I think it's what the smoke is doing. If there's a lot of smoke, or it's thin, or it's a bit patchy, that'll make a huge difference to how the picture looks. But I think if we have a lot of smoke in close, the laser will illuminate the smoke and glow into the smoke as well, I'm expecting. So we'll see a bit of a halo around the beam of light.
I guess from my point of view, in still photography though, unless you're getting the breakup in the smoke, it's going to look pretty much like a glow effect done in post-production, isn't it, really?
Well, yes, I suppose it's something that you could do in post, but I think it's always good to practice in front of the camera to see what the real idea is, what the real light is doing. And if you do things like this, like we did previously with the torch and the other shots with the laser, then you see what real light does. If you do then want to go and do things in post, then you've got an idea about what it's like in the real world.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. All right, well, let's keep going with our laser first.
Okay. Shining through the...
So as the smoke hits it, it brightens up, right? So it's basically we've got nothing, then the smoke wafts in and boom.
Yes, we get the exposure.
So I guess if I tried getting the smoke machine a little closer.
Yeah, the smoke needs to be more intense, but the line is static, of course, so I wonder if we might try and move the line during the exposure. Move the laser around.
Okay, I'll go and do that. There's a bunch of smoke. And I'm coming in. Tell me when you're open exposure.
Yep, ready to go now.
You ready?
Yes.
And moving. Okay, well, that's it for friggin' lasers, and didn't we have fun? If you're trying to do this, you're going to need something above a camera like this. This is a great little camera, and I use this all the time for taking happy snaps, shots on set, behind the scenes stuff, but it just doesn't have enough manual control. We just can't repeat enough how much you need to have a camera that goes fully manual. Now this is a Pro 1. It's actually a fixed lens camera. It's not even SLR, but you can do all the things that we've been speaking about today pretty much. I think this will go up to about 15 seconds exposure, and obviously on some of ours we went to 30, but still you can get an enormous amount done just out of what is a relatively cheap camera. And quite frankly, you can get a digital SLR now for about $500, and it isn't actually the camera that makes these shots. I hope we've made that point by now. It isn't having really expensive kit. If you get a good $500 digital stills camera, you'll be able to do an enormous amount of work. And also, you're probably much better off investing your money on lenses than you are on camera bodies, as camera bodies keep changing, but lenses pretty much will last a fair while. If you invest in either Nikon or Canon, say, those lenses will carry you through. So don't go spending a fortune, but if you haven't got a digital SLR and you're serious about photography, you're going to need one. But you need, for this week, for most of the stuff we've done this term, a fully manual camera. And if you can't get a fully manual camera, you're just not going to get the sort of control that you're seeing Tim show us. Now, next week's classes, we're going to be swinging around for food and drink in the last 2 weeks of term, leading up to Christmas drinks in the last week. So I hope you can join us then. Until then, on behalf of Tim, and special thanks to Steve and myself, see you guys next week. Goodbye.